Hello, everybody. Happy Wednesday. Happy final Wednesday training sesh of 2021. I cannot believe it. I can't believe we're looking at 2021 in just a couple of days. So, I'm just going to check to make sure that you can hear me and that you can see me, and then we will get diving into today's topic. Hold on just a minute. So, if you are joining me live, I would love for you to let me know. Give me a thumbs up, give me a heart, let me know that you're here. And if you are watching in replay, definitely let me know you are watching in replay. There we go. Yep. Okay, good. And I think my mic is not crackly, so that's good too. Today we're diving into what we can do on our first day back to work. And I realize that the topic is hello, everybody starting to tune in. I realize that the topic said what you can do to prepare for January 2nd, when actually, for most of us, it's going to be January 4th, our first day kind of back in the office, as it were, when we get rolling into the new year. So, whatever your first day back into the office is, this is for you. By the end of today's training, you're going to learn why you may sit down to your office and desk and not feel motivated when you might have lots of ideas flowing right now. Hello. Oh, hey, Francesca. I can see you too. That's awesome. You're going to learn why that might happen, what that's all about, and you're going to learn 4 things that you can do on that first day back to begin to get you rolling toward your goals and to a successful 2021. And before we start, I just want to introduce myself for those of you who may not know me. Many of you do, but for those of you who don't, my name is Lori Fisher, and I am the owner of Rethink Home Interiors, a full-service real estate staging company based in the Philadelphia suburbs. I've been in business for 9 years, and these training sessions are really about me giving back to our staging community. I have learned a lot as I've grown this business. Philadelphia wasn't a market that was really ready for staging, so I've had to really work hard to create the business that I have, and I've learned a lot over the years. So I'm sharing a lot of that with you. In these training sessions. If you hear something today that you like, give me a thumbs up, give me a heart, give me, I don't know, you can do a hashtag like gold, something like that in the comments, just so that I know that this is helpful for you, so that I can continue to create great content for you as we roll forward. And if you haven't caught any of the previous trainings, rather than trying to find them here on my Facebook page, they are now in YouTube. If you go to rethinkhomeinteriors.com/YouTube, that will take you to the YouTube channel, and there is a playlist of all of these trainings that we've done. I think we're up to like 28 trainings in there from these Facebook Lives. So before we dive in today, I just want to honor every one of you. Having gone through 2020 as a community-wide global experience, I want to just recognize and honor the fact that many of you have experienced losses, losses of family members, maybe loss of income in your families, maybe an impact to your businesses. It's a lot to navigate this year. And maybe for some of you, it was a great year. I'm an introvert, so in many ways, being in quarantine, I always joke I've been quarantining since like 1984. This year wasn't as difficult for me as it may have been for other people, because it just kind of naturally, I'm like, oh, I like being kind of a little lower key in things. But we've all been through a lot, and you have risen up. For those of you who have shown up here week after week, I just want to say, go you. So you should really thank your past self for looking out for yourself and being here and tuning in. You've shown up, you've risen above, you're staying motivated, you're staying focused, and you're showing up here again this week. So my hat's off to you. And I am excited for you moving forward into 2021. I am super excited. There's so much great stuff happening in the world to help us get through all of this COVID. And we'll get through it together, because I'm going to keep showing up here. I have this calendar mapped out for the next several months of trainings for us. So that's the first thing. And I want you to reflect back, and you don't have to type it in here, but I want you to think about for your business, and whether you have started your business or you're thinking about your business, I just want you to think back in 2020, what was the one thing that you did that was the biggest shift for your business or for you personally? What made a difference? What did you do? Because in moving forward into 2021, we want to look for sometimes hints in the past for what worked for us, and take a minute to honor ourselves and what we put forth. So I just ask you, you can type it in the comments, or you can, again, just think to yourself, what was the big thing? What was a big game changer for you moving forward? Um, and this is a great practice to incorporate throughout your business, is reflecting back. I add this as part of my quarterly planning. So if you are doing quarterly planning, this is always an awesome exercise. What did you do that moved you forward, and what was successful? It's a great way to go, oh, that really worked well. Let me continue to do more of that. But I want to share with you a little bit of background around why I wanted to do this training. Specifically because year after year, what would happen with me is I'd go away on vacation for the winter break, and I get my most creative thoughts when I'm from New England, and when I get home, I grew up on a lake, and my family still lives there. And so walks around the lake and just being there somehow sparks my creativity, my energy, my motivation, and I have all of these ideas for what I want to accomplish in the year ahead and what I'm going to do when I sit down at my desk that first day. And what I realized year after year was that I sat down at my desk on that first day back, if I didn't have any client work to do, and I didn't really have the same motivation and energy. And a lot of those ideas kind of escaped me, or I started second guessing them, or they just didn't make sense anymore. I was like, do I really need to do that? And there were three things that were happening that kind of created that, which took me a while to understand. And for those of you who have followed me for a while, you know I'm all about brain science and neuroscience and how we can apply this both in our staging work, but in our staging businesses as well. Three things were happening that were kind of causing me to sit at my desk and not really have an idea of what to do. The first thing is our brains need a little boost of dopamine and serotonin. So what I was experiencing just before the new year when I was visiting my family was that boost of dopamine and serotonin. And a couple of weeks ago, I believe it was November 18th, I did a deep dive into dopamine and serotonin and gratitude. So if you really want to learn a lot more about that, it's in that training. But we need to, so I wasn't experiencing that serotonin boost, right? So we're going to talk about how we can create that in the next section. Our brains aren't great at multitasking, and I was coming to the table with tons of ideas. I had set up several quarterly goals, several priorities. Oh, awesome, Carol. That's so cool. Carol was a participant in the Pfizer trials. Thank you. Thank you so much for that. And our brains are wired to put obstacle thinking in our way as we begin to stretch beyond our comfort zone. So when I would sit down to my desk, I'd have a lot of things I wanted to work on. A lot of those things were things I hadn't really done before, or were things that would stretch me beyond my comfort zone, whether it was picking up the phone and calling realtors, whether it was writing a blog post, whether it was reaching out to try to schedule coffee dates, all of that stuff. So those three things were really working against me. And it wasn't until I realized that those three things were working against me that I could actually do anything about it. So then what I did was I started I created a standard operating procedure for what I do on the first day back to work each year. So I'm going to share those goodies with you. So before you do any of the things I'm going to outline for you, I want you to put a time in your calendar for when you're going to do this kickoff activity. It can be the 4th, it can be the 6th, whatever day you are sitting back at your desk, back to work, planning on your big, fun, awesome goals for 2021 for your business. Put it on the calendar. Give yourself about 2 hours of time to work through this. You may not need the full 2 hours, but give yourself the time and figure out a way that you can do this where it can be quiet for you. You know, if that means it's at night and, significant other puts the kids to bed and you're able to do this at night. If this means that if you're in one of the places where you can actually go to a coffee shop and you can go do that, or if there's just a quiet place in your house where you can close the door, put on nice music, light a candle, whatever it looks like for you, really carve out the time and the space to be able to do this, because this is really, really important work and it'll set the tone for you. And I'm going to share for you a real life example of how doing this has impacted me and my business. Okay, so once you've got that calendar, that time blocked in your calendar, you're going to sit down with a notebook and you're going to start getting to work. And the first thing we talked about was that our brains need dopamine. Awesome, Carol, you added a new service to your business. That's so great. Awesome. So these things are so great, and you can see like when you start thinking about those things, how exciting it gets. So getting into the vortex, and when I say getting into the vortex, I mean getting good vibes running through your body. There's something called the emotional guidance framework, where whenever you do work on your business or you're creating content for your clients or writing emails, you want to be coming from a place of feeling grounded and feeling at peace and joy and calm and all of that. And that's what increases the serotonin and dopamine flow in your body, which actually helps you attain goals so much more effectively. Studies, and I go into that a lot in that other training program about gratitude, is it helps you tackle these goals so much more effectively. So the first thing is to get into the vortex. I want you to express gratitude to yourself. I want you to express gratitude to yourself for the last year and things that you have just navigated, whether that's personal, whether that's professional. I'm sure 2020 has given us all a lot to reflect back on and be like, holy smokes, I never thought I'd get through homeschooling the kids and running my business. Or I didn't know for sure that I would be able to continue my business through COVID, but I figured out a way. I added a new service. I approached it a little differently. I stayed in touch with people. Whatever that looks like for you, I want you to write those things down, and I want you to thank yourself. I want you to list like the accomplishments that you've had in your business as a part of that. So, if you hit a revenue goal that you've never hit before, if you added on 2 new clients in the last year, or 3 new clients, or 10 new clients, or whatever that looks like for you, just start writing it all down. When my kids were little, we used to do like the peaks of the day. What were the peaks of the day, the highlights, so that we could just be in a great mood when we were at the dinner table. We could share everybody's wins. This is what you're going to be doing. You're going to be sharing the wins, because when you operate as a solopreneur, or if you have a team like I do, sometimes you've got to do your own internal cheerleading, right? Not everybody's going to do that for you. Your team isn't always thinking like, geez, I need to give so-and-so a pat on the back for all of the hard work that they've done this year. You've got to do that for yourself. I want you to write 3 things that you're grateful for today. And it can be simple. It can be for the smell of coffee as you came down the stairs, or it could be the sunlight pouring in your bedroom window. It could be the fact that you were able to save enough money to buy new equipment or inventory or something for your business. But write down 3 things that you are grateful for. And this is a fabulous practice to do on a daily basis. Because like I said before, gratitude, when we express it to ourselves and even when we express it to others, it increases our dopamine and serotonin levels, and those have been linked to intrinsic motivation and goal attainment. And then if you want to, a final exercise here is to take the time and journal a note to your past self, thanking you for everything that you have done that has brought you through the past year and is bringing you into the next year. So I always talk about the concept that Brooke Castillo talks about, your future self, your past self. You want to look forward to your future self, but thank the past self that has gotten you to where you are today and where you're going to be moving forward. So that's the first thing I want you to do as part of this session, is get yourself into the vortex. So little kind of mindset-y woo-woo stuff, but I'm telling you, it works amazingly well. So the next thing you want to do is, once you've kind of gotten all of that vortex-y goodness and you're feeling really good, is I actually want you to look at, if you did some quarterly planning and you came up with goals, for the quarterly plan, I actually want you to choose one overarching goal for the entire year. And my business coach, Toby Fairley, calls it the 1 key goal approach. And it's actually brilliant, guys. And I'm going to break this down for you. Warren Buffett once said, the difference between successful people and very successful people is that very successful people say no to almost everything. And when it comes to setting goals, sometimes the problem is we set too many priorities. And it's very interesting. I don't know if I have the book over here on my shelf in front of me. I usually do. But There's a book called Essentialism by Greg McKeown. If you don't have it, you should definitely get it. But Greg McKeown talks about the fact that the word priority was never meant to be pluralized. But we Americans who like overconsumption of everything turn priority into priorities. And it's not possible to have multiple priorities. And the other thing is, our brains are not wired for that. Our brains are really, really good on hyper focused work. And if we are going to get really good at anything in our business and achieve any goal, it's most effectively done if we can really, truly focus on one goal at a time. And it is remarkable that in achieving one goal at a time, you actually speed up your progression to everything, right? Because what happens if you have multiple goals is your efforts are spread thin, and then you do kind of what's called task switching. And study after study has shown that multitasking or task switching really diminishes our productivity level and the quality of our work in achieving those goals. So the more we can stay in single focused work, the better. Um, and there are two kinds of goals, and I want to share these with you. There are nominal goals and non-nominal goals. So nominal goals are number goals. Okay, so those are like a revenue goal, how many new clients you want to have, how many of each service you want to deliver in a given period of time. So those are the ones that you can actually see with a number. Those are excellent goals to have, and I will share with you a little bit about how I look at those goals. It's not maybe the same as everybody. And then the non-nominal goals. These are things that are not related to numbers. These are things more related to systems and processes. It could be creating a weekly rhythm or routine in your business that helps you not only focus on client work, but also gives you time to focus on your business instead of always being in your business, right? This is really the habit creation kind of goal. Taking control of your finances, creating systems around maybe your client onboarding experience. So what you should do is identify for you what is the one key goal you actually want to focus on, and intend to work on it for a full year, believe it or not, and have it as your overarching theme. Now, I prefer non-nominal overarching goals in my business right now. That wasn't always the case, but for me right now, I prefer non-nominal goals. And I will tell you that for 2020, so fascinating, my non-nominal goal was financial adulting, is what I called it. It was the year of financial adulting. I don't choose a word of the year. I don't find that particularly helpful. I choose to one of these key non-nominal goals. So it was financial adulting. So what did I need to do for financial adulting? I will tell you, and this is what you're going to do. You're going to choose your one overarching goal. So the first thing that you have to do is, once you achieve that goal, or you identify what that overarching goal is, you need to identify the gaps. So whether that's a money goal or a number goal or one of these. So mine, it was financial adulting, so I had to identify the gaps. And here are the gaps that I had identified. I needed to understand my cash flow better. I never understood my cash flow. So as a result, there were months when payments wouldn't clear because I hadn't had put enough money into that account. I do profit first accounting. And so I wasn't putting in enough into my operating account in order to cover the bills that were coming out at a given period of time. That was a gap that I had. I wanted to set a weekly financial goal for my business. So in order to do that, I needed to understand every single charge that went like out of my business. So I had to set up a system for that, and I'll tell you how I did that in a minute. I wanted to look at my money weekly to know what my progress was. I have a really good friend, my business BFF named Kelly Schaefer, and my business BFF looks at her money every single week, and she would always say, "Oh, this is how much I made this week. How'd you do?" And I'd be like, I don't really know. I wasn't looking at it at all. And I knew that had to change, because every time she was sharing with me her number goal and I didn't know what my number goal was, I really felt kind of shame and embarrassment in there. So That was another thing. Where was my money coming from? What were the services that were delivering me the most profit? Not the most net, the most profit. I really did not understand. Was it vacant staging work? Was it our consultation business? So I had to close the gap around understanding that. Where's my money going to? What were the monthly expenses I had going out? I needed to track mileage on a regular basis. I wasn't really doing that. I would tell my accountant a guesstimate every year, and he was like, "Well, if you get audited, I hope you have a log of that." And I was like, "Oh, sure, I do." I needed to do that. I needed to understand my bookkeeping system better because in order for me to be better at my financial adulting, I needed to know what was important in those numbers. I wanted to pay off investments I had made into the business faster so that I could free up more cash flow. So those were my gaps that I had written down. All the things that I thought I needed to begin to fill in, in order to start financial adulting. The next thing I did, which I want you to do, is what can you do to close those gaps? What can you add into your weekly calendar? What tool do you need? What advice do you need? What should you be listening to? What should you be reading to help you fill those gaps? So the first thing that I did was I had Financial Fridays on my calendar every Friday morning, and I blew them off most weeks. So I had to go back and formalize Financial Fridays. And what I realized was that in my calendar, in my Google Calendar, I hadn't had what was going to happen during Financial Fridays. I just had Financial Fridays on the calendar as an appointment, but I didn't have an actual process and system to how I did that. So I formalized Financial Fridays. And on Financial Fridays, I identified in the calendar all of the things that I was going to do during that 1 hour that I had allocated towards understanding my finances. So that was the first thing that I did. The next thing that I did was I created a cash flow document. I went through my bank statements, my operating account, since that is where all of my, memberships and monthly things come out of. I went through my operating account and I created a spreadsheet in Excel. And for the students who are in the Staging Business Bootcamp that opens for enrollment in January, you actually get this exact tool that I use, this exact cash flow calculator thing that I have. And so what I did was I put in every fixed expense that I have. I also went into my payroll account and I looked at what the average payroll was for my company each week, and I broke them down so I knew each week what I had to have in the operating account in order to fund that week's worth of automatic withdrawals and bills due. Game flipping changer. Pain in the A to set up? Yes. Absolutely. I resisted it every step of the way. But once I set it up and I started using it every Financial Friday to look at what I was needing in the bank account and then looking into the bank account to make sure that those things were in alignment, game changer. And my business coach, Toby, will tell you that because so many times that poor woman was like, "Hey, ran your card today," and because I have a debit card for everything in my business, ran the debit card, there weren't enough funds, and I'd have to reallocate funds because I had put too much away for taxes or profit or payroll and wasn't covering the operating thing. So that was the next thing that I did. Then I started using religiously the thing called a focus report. And this was set up for me by a past bookkeeper that I had abandoned. And again, students in the Staging Business Bootcamp, SB2, will get this. Enrollment opens in January. And if you want to be on the wait list for that, it's rethinkhomeinteriors.com/S as in Sam, B as in boy, the number 2, wait list. WAITLIST. I'll put that in the captions above. But the students in SB2 also get the focus report. And the focus report is a really cool tool that this bookkeeper set up for me, which was I could put in on every Friday everything that came into my income account, and I could put assign a percentage that I wanted to go to operating, payroll, taxes, to pay myself, to put it away for profit. And it automatically calculates how much money I need to transfer from my income account into all of those places for me. Again, a game changer because I was able to adjust the percentage of operating to then capture what I was learning from my cash flow statement. Hey, everybody who's popping in. It's great to see you. So that was the next thing I did. So that closed yet another gap. I added an app to my phone as a mileage tracker and I categorized my drives for the week every Friday morning. I went through my operating statement and I looked at all of those memberships for the cash flow statement and I canceled anything that I wasn't currently using. I also streamlined, some were coming out of like an old PayPal account, were set up there. I made sure everything came onto operating so that I knew exactly to the dollar what was going out each week. I scheduled weekly Zoom calls with my bookkeeper and my administrative assistant for weeks on end to learn our bookkeeping system inside and out, backwards and forward, and tasked my administrative assistant with keeping a document of all of the things that we were learning so that we can turn that into our standard operating procedure. We're still learning even after a full year of working on this. This is why it's great to have a full year goal. But that will become a standard operating procedure this year, so we have everything completely dialed in. So that's what you're going to do. You're going to take that one key goal, whether it's a nominal goal or a non nominal goal. You're going to identify the gaps. Maybe it's that you don't have enough contacts and maybe you need to be doing more networking if it's a money goal. Maybe it's you need to be emailing people more often. You need to be staying in touch more effectively. Whatever that looks like for you, identify the gaps and then how are you going to fill those gaps? Then the next thing though that I want to caution you about is that our brains are wired to keep us comfortable and safe and we don't like change and we want things easy. And this is where habit creation really gets some resistance if we're not careful, because that's really what you're doing. I just read Seth Godin's blog this week, and he totally is in alignment with what I'm saying here, which is the best thing that we can do around any of these. This one key goal is create habits that help make it happen on a weekly basis, because the more we can take consistent action, the more effective we will be at achieving those goals. But our brains are going to stop us in our tracks. And Brooke Castillo and my business coach Toby Fairley call this obstacle thoughts or obstacle thinking. And it's things like your brain will say, as you go to implement these new plans. In my cases, I'm not great at finances. I've never really been great at finances. My husband usually takes care of that. I don't really understand the bookkeeping system. This seems hard. I don't have time. I'm not creative. I don't know what to say. I won't know what to write. What if I do the wrong thing? Will people make fun of me? What will the comments be? It's endless, right? It's endless what our brains will do. But I want to tell you this. Here's the thing. We don't have to listen to those thoughts. We can totally choose to ignore those thoughts, even though they sound super compelling and they sound super true. They aren't. They just aren't. They're just thoughts passing through our brain. We can choose to deflect them. We can choose to take them in. And I will tell you, if you want to grow a business, a staging business in particular, you're going to have to stop a lot of these obstacle thoughts in their freaking tracks, because they will keep coming up over and over and over again. Our businesses are our best personal growth tool if we let them be that for us, but they can also be the biggest the biggest shot to us, like failure, overload, if we're not careful. So they we get to choose whether we listen to them. We can actually choose better thoughts if we want to, and we can actually prepare for them and head them off before they even show up. And I'm going to talk to you about what that looks like. So for example, with my financial Fridays, what are some of the obstacle thoughts that came up? Cash flow seems really hard to figure out. And I don't have a good grip on that. I'm not sure how I'll get a good grip on that. What if I'm not around on a Friday? What if I don't have enough money that comes in? Like all of these things came out. Will that make me feel dejected if I'm looking at revenue and I'm not hitting that, revenue goal? All of that stuff will come up. So what you need to do is map out your plan of attack for each of those thoughts that come up. And I know it seems like that is like a super easy step to just skip over and ignore, but trust me when I tell you, think about it like, for example, when you're on you decide you're going to go on a diet, or you're going to, exercise more or something. You know that if you plan for your obstacle thought to come up, which is like 2 days into a diet, you're like, oh my God, this is impossible. Why the heck would I ever think I could do this? I am so hungry. Like all of those thoughts that come up. But if you have a plan and you say, okay, when I'm hungry, I'm going to snack on green beans that are in the refrigerator rather than potato chips, you have just set yourself up for so much more success because you've got your plan B when your brain starts trying to undermine you. We have to do the same in business, guys. We've got to do the same in business because it is no different. Our brains want to keep us safe. They want to keep us comfortable, just like I said before. And our job is to stretch beyond that because that's how we grow profitable businesses at the end of the day. And you all likely have started a business. You've likely put the plans in place to start a business. That's huge. That's like the most uncomfortable ever, right? Like, putting yourself out there if you've never, you haven't been a stager to this point and then telling the world and claiming that you're a stager. That's big. So if you can do that, you can do all the rest of this. You can do any of it. So I want you to spend a little bit of time addressing that. So you're going to identify the gaps, what you're going to do to fill those gaps, and what are the obstacle thoughts that will come up and how you plan to just ignore those thoughts. What's the strategy to get around those thoughts? The last thing is a little bit woo, but I'm telling you, it is the coolest thing. I've been doing this for several years in my business because my original business coach, Fabienne Fredrickson, talks about this. And if you don't follow Fabienne and you don't follow Toby and you don't follow Brooke, all the people I've mentioned before, they're amazing women and have such sage advice about growing businesses. Fabienne's is more about, mindset more than most. And this is a tool that she gave that I thought was probably silly, but it's been really cool to see how things have manifested in my life as a result of goal cards. So goal cards, GOAL cards, not gold cards, is you just take an index card. It can be a small one, it can be a big one, whatever, an index card. And what you want to do is you want to write about this one key goal in the present situation. So the goal card that I had for financial adulting was, I totally understand my financial situation in my business at any given moment. I know exactly where my money is coming in from. I know exactly where my money is going out to. I am paying my bills with ease and comfort. And it just went on and on from there. And everything is written in the present tense as though you have it already. So you write your goal, how it looks, how it feels, what it's like, and then you put this by your bedside and you legit wake up in the morning and you read this, and it's the last thing you read before you go to bed. Just take a minute, deep breath in, read your card, meditate on it, and do this twice a day. I've written goal cards over the years for all kinds of things. I wrote about hiring my first team member and what she would be like, and darn if she isn't the epitome of what I had written. My first full team that can operate like on a whole vacant project without me, same thing. Amazing to see how much in alignment my goal card was with what happened. I even did the same thing for a renovation project at my home, my kitchen. And I have a whole story about my kitchen on the blog, but it's pretty cool how it happened. But it was a goal card that I just read every single day. So that is a little bit woo. I know it might seem weird. I'm a sciencey girl. To me, that at first I was like, I don't know. But there is something to sitting in that space, writing it in the present tense as though you have it already, and then repeating it over and over again to yourself. So go forth on your first day back to work with a whole new perspective. Get yourself in the vortex, create your one goal, plan for your obstacle thoughts, create your goal cards. And if it sounds like it would be a fit for you, join us on the wait list for Staging Business Bootcamp so that when it opens later this month for enrollment, you'll be the first to know. That's rethinkHomeInteriors.com/SB2 waitlist, and I will put that in the captions. I want to thank you again, everyone, for a remarkable 2020 for me personally because of you. And I mentioned this in the gratitude training sesh, but if it were not for you and it were not for the community who was here week after week with me as we joined kind of communing around these topics, I'm not sure what it would have looked like for me. I love to be an introvert, like I said, but I have thrived on being here with you, being here for you, thinking about what you might like to learn about, what lessons I've learned learned that I can share. And so I just thank you all for making what could have been a crazy 2020 just so much more stabilizing and refreshing and lovely to be a part of. So I thank you all. I will see you next week. Geez, I did not write down what my topic is here. Usually I put it at the bottom. So you have to stay tuned to see it, what our next topic is. Actually, maybe I can pull it up really quickly while we're here. Hold on. I bet I can. Whoops. Hold on. You'll get it for you. And like I said, over on YouTube, rethinkhominteriors.com/YouTube, you can subscribe and binge all of these trainings. I think I have 9 subscribers as of today. So you're getting to see me start something new and, see me put into practice everything that I'm sharing with you in these training sessions. But let me see. I pulled up my 2020 and 2021. Thanks for your patience, guys. My calendar. What's next week? It is, drumroll. But I'm super excited for all of you who have been here. How to charge more and still book staging clients. That's a good one. That's going to be January 6th. So how you can charge more. Okay. Anyway, have a fabulous rest of your week. Enjoy your celebration, closing the door on 2021 if it just was horrendous, and welcoming in 2021. All right, guys, have a great week. I'll see you next week. Bye.